good evening and welcome to Rangers Radio. I'm Linda, and joining me on the show tonight, it's the young team. It's Robert and Jim. How you doing, guys?
Evening, Linda. Doing well, yourself? And evening, Jim.
Yep. Evening, guys. Hope you're both doing well.
Yeah, we're doing very well. On with the young team tonight. GB's busy, so I've brought the average age up quite a notch. I think I've heard the rumour that he's over at Edmondson House, but he's got his night wrong. He thought it was the pop group Stacey he was going to see.
He'll be disappointed. He'll be disappointed when he turns up.
He'll be disappointed when he turns up and it's the fans forum, but no, he's unavailable. So yeah, joining the young team tonight. So guys, how you doing? How are you, Robert?
Yeah, I'm good, Linda. Feeling very good about things lately. Been a positive few weeks with the club, performing well, and obviously following the weekend's result into a final next month. So, yep, feeling good.
Yeah, you, Jim, a real positive vibe about the club just now, isn't it?
Yeah, much the same. A lot is even more positive since we were speaking. I think last time we were on was last Tuesday. We've had a couple of games there, a couple of really good results, and at the moment things seem to be onwards and upwards. All very good at the moment.
Yeah, good stuff. So Robert, we'd obviously a big game at the weekend, but midweek, the Dundee trip, it was actually looking like a tricky fixture for us, and obviously all the goings on before with the delays and the weather and the traffic jams, etc. But we went out, put on a really great performance and a fantastic 5-0 win.
Yeah, it really was impressive given as you said, the issues before it, the travel and then the delay into the game of the pyrotechnics. But certainly a great performance. 5 different goal scorers as well, which is really promising. Goals from Danilo, Dessers and Lammers. So it's obviously giving the front boys some confidence. But yeah, overall, great team performance. It's always a tricky away tie, I think, Dundee, especially midweek, but made it look very, very comfortable.
And Jim, I suppose, 5 different goal scorers, as Robert says, some cracking goals in there, and people just starting to, get into the flow about the way the manager wants us to play, I think.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, it was good. And 5 different goal scorers. I mean, it was great. I think any player on that pitch could have had a goal if they wanted to. A tie that could have been very difficult. It turned out to be very easy, didn't it? We were a different class on the night. Yeah, really good to see players playing with a lot of confidence, a lot more interchanging with the ball, a bit more, off the ball, a bit more of an understanding. No, it was really good because to be honest, I think we talked on Tuesday before it, I would have took a 1-0 rubbish performance, but knowing it's a tough way to go, and especially when the kickoff was delayed, I was thinking, oh no, here we go, this could be the one, but no, comfortable winners, and it was really good to see.
Yeah, and I suppose from our perspective, Danilo, he could probably have had a hat-trick in the game, Robert, and you don't want to be too critical. He missed a few chances, but he took his goal well and starting to look a bit of a player for us, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Despite not taking his chances when, as you said, he could have had more than what he got, the promising thing for me was he was in the right area at all the times. It didn't let his performance affect him. He was still keen to get on the ball. His directness is totally different from what we see from Dessers. His way he just goes to goal instantly. But yeah, great confidence for the boy. I think he should have got maybe more than what he did get, but it was pleasing that he got I think it was 75 minutes he got under his belt, which obviously helped him towards the weekend as well in his recovery to full match fitness.
Yeah, and Jim, I mean, he brought in Balogun midweek as well, and we sort of came out of cold storage a wee bit, big Balogun, but he performed really well midweek, and we'll come on to the Hearts game in a minute, but good to see Balogun. And when we signed him in the summer, it was a kind of no-brainer for the club, Jim. It was on a free. I don't think it would be particularly big wages, and he knew the club, and we kind of knew what we were getting when we bought him, I think.
No, absolutely. To be honest, I think Rangers TV, whoever the pundit was, I think they gave man of the match to Lundstrom. Balogun was personally my man of the match. I know as the game went on, the forwards came into it and it became easy, but I thought early on in the game, not just with the run for the goal that started me, but I thought Balogun laid the foundations, put in a lot of good tackles and was clearing up quite well. And yeah, he's done his job, hasn't he? The ultimate professional. He's kept himself fit, kept himself sharp. We've had different players that have maybe needed 2 or 3 games to settle in. He only needed 2 or 3 minutes before he was creating a goal. It's great stuff from Balogun, really.
Yeah, and Robert, I think everybody likes Balogun. He seems to be quite a real genuine big guy. He gets the club. He would have been delighted to come back, and probably when we let him go, we were thinking that, we were moving on and we were going to be bringing in, what we would probably call an upgrade. But as I said there, it was a no-brainer to bring him back in, Robert. I think he, particularly as cover.
Yeah, it was interesting that he did get named in the lineup. I don't think anybody on the show the night before, including myself, predicted Balogun to even be in the starting 11, never mind the bench. But as you say, bringing him in as cover, it was interesting that he did go for him, Michael Beale, that he did bring in Balogun. There was a comment that stuck out for me since that game, and it was that he was out the active squad, but not out the whole squad. So it seemed like he has been fit, he's just not been selected. And that was a bit of a weird one, considering it was Beale who had personally brought him back as that cover. But it just shows you, though, that when we need somebody just to come in, whether it's an injury or a suspension, that Balogun's there ready to step up. And despite not playing for a good few weeks or months, he didn't look out of place, and that stride forward, they kept doing it throughout the whole game. Dundee didn't seem to shut him down, so it's a different dynamic to what Suter, Goldson and Davies can bring, and against another option, and he's not looked out of place, and they carried that into Sunday as well, which is good to see.
Yeah, and Jai, we came down the road with the 3 points, a really good performance, and just what we needed, to keep the momentum going, because I think when we beat Hearts last weekend, the 2-1 game, it was really a crucial victory. That we wanted to keep the good feeling going, and we obviously, the result against Dundee, we just took that momentum into the weekend and in the Hearts game. So the guys went over it in quite a bit of detail last night, but we just get your thoughts on it. First of all, Jai, what did you think of the performance in the semi-final, and did you think we were worthy winners?
Oh yeah, 100%. There was only one team that deserved to win that game. I thought it was a very comfortable performance. Sort of how I like, and as a bias, sort of Rangers fan, expect it to be. We've got the better team. We've got the better players. We should be in control like we were. Okay, in the first half, I didn't think we created too many clear-cut chances, if any, to be honest, without, doing some nice football around the box. But then an explosive second half, really, the typical scoring goals at the right time. Skipper steps up, and then after we got them 2 quick goals, it was pretty plain sailing, and very happy with it.
Yeah, Robert, the first half, first kind of, part of the first half, it was all kind of fairly even. I did think that we were kind of, the ones that were on the front foot, trying to sort of carve an opening, try to get a goal, keeping the tempo high. And when we got to half time, we had a few chances, Robert. We just couldn't get the ball in the back of the net, I think, in the first half.
Yeah, I think that the first half, the way the approach looked to me was we were in control for the whole 45 minutes. I know Hearts had the kind of moments, but as you said, nothing really threatening towards our goal. And we looked like the ones that it was a matter of time that goal would come. And unfortunately, the half-time whistle came before the first goal. I think had we have got it, there'd been no complaints on the first half performance. But as Jim said, the second half, the goals come at the right time. It's controlled, comfortable, and I was a bit surprised the way that Hearts approached the game, given the way they approached it at Ibrox previously. But main point is that it's a win for us, and it's a chance to get the first trophy of the season next month.
Yeah, and Jai, at half time, what did you think when you saw the fact that he had taken Cantwell off and had brought Scott Wright on?
At first I was a little bit surprised, because obviously it's Tom Cantwell, especially on the back of last season. Probably, maybe there's different players performing now, but probably at the moment still most Rangers fans say our best player. And he take it off, but then thinking about it, and you hear pundits start talking about it, he picked up maybe a bit of a silly yellow card. Scott Wright, okay, not everybody's favourite, has been starting over Clement, and we've been winning under Clement, and he's probably thinking, right, it's your turn to try and improve it. I was surprised, but then maybe hindsight's a wonderful thing because Wright scored, but at the same time impressed because especially in the manager's press conference afterwards, he mentioned the yellow card, and he thought that Hearts might try and play at that. So again, more in hindsight, probably impressed with the manager that he was thinking like that in an intense situation.
Yeah, that's what's probably quite good about Clement, isn't it? I mean, he doesn't need to explain every decision, but he does take the time to let us know he's thinking behind certain things. And I thought that was actually quite good that he came out and said that. You hear people saying, well, maybe he doesn't fancy Cantwell, Robert, but I don't think it's anything to do with that. I don't think our manager is afraid to make decisions. People might think that they might be unpopular, they might be, raise a few eyebrows, but it seems to me, Robert, that he's quite content to do what he thinks is best for the team.
Yeah, absolutely. For me as well, it showed that he had trust in the rest of the players to go and win the game, and didn't have to rely on Cantwell being that spark that we've needed at times in previous games before Clement came in. I think, as James said, because he was on that yellow card, it's smart thinking by Clement, and obviously, as I said, he's trusted the other players that are on the park, and Scott Wright by putting him on to go and win the game so that Cantwell's available for that final, which it could be that he gets the winning goal, and we'll look back at that substitution at half time and think what a masterstroke that is. So again, I've said it before on the show, since Clement's come in, it's just experience. The experience to make that substitution at that time. He could have left it go for another 10, 15 minutes to see what would happen, but he thought, no, it's best to do it now, and that's ultimately what he's doing. It's the best for the team, and we can't say it's not because everything's been successful so far, and it's all positive going forward.
Yeah, and Jai, you'd said about, obviously we got the quick goals, but we really did kind of blow them away. I've not really seen, I mean, obviously we played some fantastic football in Gerrard's tenure, and obviously the run to Seville under Gio was some great football, but we haven't really seen anything like that this season so far, have we, Jai? That kind of, the way that we just went after Hearts, the high press, and our goals came from us actually winning the ball back and going forward at pace and creating chances.
Yeah, it just seemed very clinical, didn't it? Very assured. Yeah, and a great start, and just for fair play, obviously we might go through the goals in a bit more detail, but I think going from Wednesday night's performance and then into that game there on Sunday, it shows how sharp Danilo's looking. Nobody would have had any problems if that ball just went through to the goalkeeper and he picked it up. But the fact that Danilo was showing that energy straight from half time to basically go and win a penalty out of nothing, really, because there was no way that should have, from a Hearts point of view, that should have turned into a penalty. So very, fair play to Danilo, and then that just set the tone for the rest of the team, didn't it? Everybody just started pressing high, and then obviously a good finish from Scott Wright, and then an amazing free kick from Tavernier.
Yeah. And our captain, Robert, I think we've got to give him credit where credit's due. I mean, there's some unbelievable stats kicking about just now. Every time, Tav scores a goal, we were reminded about, the fact that perhaps he's not the greatest defender we've ever had. But I think I hate to say this, I don't want to jinx it, but I think he seems to be a bit more assured even in his defending under Clement. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think it would be fair to say that. Obviously, the games coming up, the European games, will probably be the bigger test than the ones he's faced. But in terms of his mentality, missing a penalty against Hearts in the league, stepping up to take another one, scoring it, and then winning a cup semi-final, it takes some bottle, we must admit. And then the free kick, we know he's got that in his locker. And that's the Tav that we've seen over the years, and we can say that's consistent about him. His goal scoring record is just phenomenal. It's incredible. I don't think we'll ever see that again at Rangers, I'll be honest. And you mentioned stats, I think, was it the 7th highest all-time goal scoring defender?
Yeah.
That's for somebody that came from Wigan to Rangers in Scottish football, no matter where you are, that's incredible.
Yeah.
That is incredible.
Yeah, Robert, I think I saw that list. He was he's 7th, isn't he, with 115, and there's some really quite great names on that. I think Ronald Koeman was first with 253, so who knows, maybe Tav will catch him. I don't think so, but even somebody
he's only 20 goals behind Sergio Ramos. I'm just
Aye,
looking
that's right. So he is, JM. He's ahead of Roberto Carlos as well. Carlos has had 113 in his career. So, JM, I think it's probably, all of these stats, right, that they're fantastic, his assists and everything. But we know that the column that he needs to add to is the trophies column, but hopefully under this new manager, we don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, but I suppose that is probably the one that we would like to have seen more in the trophy column for Tav.
Yeah, 100%. I think a lot of people would do that, playing devil's advocate, when it's easy to sort of have a swipe at that. The only thing I'd say is when they go on about other Rangers captains is that some other Rangers captains haven't had to play with some of the dross that Taverniers had to play with over the years. From start to finish, he's played in some very average Rangers teams and he's always stood out, always scored all them goals, always carried a team. So we know Tavernier maybe at times has his defensive problems, but I think sort of since the new managers came in, hit both full-backs aren't expected to cover as much ground up and down with the different shapes, then, they're not expected to be our right wingers and our right back. So hopefully that helps them out going forward.
Okay, Robert, and there's other players that they take penalties as well. And as you rightly point out, we don't hear that from other fans of other teams. But do you agree, Robert, that it's more, he needs to win some more trophies for us?
Yeah, absolutely. I think if you ask him as well, he'll probably say that's his only regret as well, is not having more trophies to that collection. 55 will be special for him. You probably, like every one of us, would have loved to have the Europa League trophy. But given the two aside, there's a lot more that we should have won and we could have won. And I think that'll probably be the only regret that Tav has in his Rangers career, is the lack of trophies. But it certainly does make up for it in his goal scoring record as a personal thing for him. But yeah, absolutely, more trophies would have been the icing on the cake, I think, for his contribution, his Hall of Fame induction, just everything. Had it been more trophies, I think it would have been a very, very worthwhile reason. But as I said, I think that will be his only regret, the lack of trophies.
Yeah, but as you say, hopefully that's going to change. So JM, we get to the end of the game. I think after Tav's free kick, and probably even after the second goal, we thought, we surely are going to go over the line. We had a few more chances. Tom Lawrence came on, nice wee cameo for him. He had a couple of nice runs, he had a couple of shots at goal. Warner had one as well, and then obviously they get the penalty. And it was really just a consolation for them, JM, I think, wasn't it? I didn't really ever feel that they were going to get back into the game.
No, that didn't. I think also at 2-0, was it a 2-0 that Butler made the save from the sort of cross-come shot? And obviously, and that fair play to Butler there, because obviously that makes it a very different game at 2-1. That gives them a lot of hope, doesn't it? That lets them, that could change a game where we're very comfortable. So fair play to Butler for sort of being alive for that one, because that could have easily found itself way into the net. But what was it? So you start to worry maybe they can nick one, but they had maybe a 2-minute spell after the penalty where the energy was up, but then we got the quality back into the game again and got our foot on the ball. And then, like you say, a nice cameo from Lawrence. He was looking sharp. It was good to see him back out on the pitch, and hopefully he'll start to get some more minutes over the coming weeks.
Yeah, Robert, player of the match for you. There seem to be quite a few up for debate, which is always a good thing, I think, isn't it?
It's what you want to see. You don't want to see an individual having to carry the team. Now it looks a more team collective performance, and that's what we've been waiting for. And it's slowly getting better and better each game as we go on. And there is standouts. Don't get me wrong, but as a team, it's very nice to see. But for me, I'd probably have given it to Tav because of his goals. But I think I would maybe go with John Lundstrom just in that engine room again, just the way he controlled that midfield. I think personally he's somebody that's came on leaps and bounds since Clement's came in. So I would have maybe just edged John Lundstrom or Tavernier just for his goals.
So I think we'll get the phone lines open, guys, if that's okay with you two. See if we can get some callers in. You ready to go?
Yep, let's get them in.
Bring them on.
Let's hear from you.
Why don't you give us a call on 0141 356 1972. It's your show, it's your platform. Let's hear from you.
Yeah, Jack Butland, our goalkeepers in the past, I think we've been blessed with quite a number of really, really great goalkeepers. It's guys that we've taken to in the past, I think probably because we've had so many good goalies, JM, but Jack Butland seems to be, he's wearing that shirt well, isn't he?
Yeah, 100%. And it's probably even trickier when you play for a team that dominates like Rangers, is that you're not in the game all the time. But last Wednesday, even at Dundee there, it wasn't until the last sort of 10-15 minutes, had a couple of shots. One of the deflection looked really sharp, looked really good, comfortable with the crosses from all the corners. Big teams in Scotland, he's coming out and making them his own. And then again, he's pulling off great saves like he did on Sunday. And I just also like the way he's carrying himself at the moment, as though it looks like he's sort of falling in love with the club. The fans are enjoying him, and hopefully he just keeps up these good performances.
Yeah, Robert, the fans have really taken to him. He's got his own song, and I think he loves that side of it. But you have to still perform. It's not just all about that. And I think he's shown what a real quality goalkeeper he is. I don't know about you, but he looks as if he is a kind of standard above. No disrespect to the Premier League up here, but he looks like a real classy goalkeeper.
Yeah, he does, and you don't even need to look at his saves to know that. You just look at his, as Jim said, the way he commands his box, whether it be coming for crosses, his communication with his back line. It's just his dominance in the air, coming for corners. Ultimately, you can just see the way that he's been at that level. And let's not forget, he did play for the England national team as well, so he's represented at national level. And if he's good enough for that, then certainly he can do the job for us. And he's not put a foot wrong yet at all. Some are even saying that he's a standout already for Player of the Year, just because of how many saves he's had to make at crucial points in games, European games, league games. And ultimately, it's his concentration levels are spot on every time. As JM said, it might be hard for somebody to get the bulk of possession to keep that focus, but Butland doesn't look out of place if he's taking his eye off the ball at all. You always see him moving around the box, offering the pass back from the defender just to start again. And his distribution is good as well. It's he plays it short, doesn't mean that, but his long ball as well, we can certainly find a long target.
JM, do you think the England squad's achievable for Butland? I'm not wanting to get carried away or anything, right? But when you look at their situation with goalkeepers, it wouldn't surprise you. As Robert said, he's been in the setup before. He's known to the England, managerial team and the setup down there. And, it's something that surely he'll be focused on his club football. But that, to me, is something that could possibly be a realistic goal for him.
Yeah, I would agree. Especially, I think playing in Scotland week in, week out, for an outfield player, even though they do still pick a player that plays in Saudi Arabia, would maybe be a bit harder because they're not competing. But for a goalkeeper like Butland at his standard, and because he'll be playing obviously week in, week out in Europe as well, if he keeps putting performances in, I don't see any reason why not. Because maybe not saying number one or whatever, but the Pickford's obviously doing all right for Everton, and a couple of Ramsdale don't play for Arsenal anymore as much. So there's no reason why that can't be in the back of his mind. Hopefully he is being sort of thought about there, because that'll keep Butland going.
And Robert, from Sunday's game, one of you mentioned Lundstram, and I know there's been quite a lot of chat about Lundstram's comments when he was interviewed after the game, when he said it's been like a kind of breath of fresh air under the new manager. I personally don't really think he was having a dig at Michael Beale. I mean, people obviously get a difference of opinion. I just think sometimes that is what happens when a new manager comes in. But it just seems to me that the players just the way that they're coming across, the way that they're playing better, but there just seems to be a difference now under Clement.
Yeah, you're right. I did see the quote. Again, I don't think it was a dig at Beale myself either. I think, as you said, it's just a change always is going to have some form of impact, and it's been positive. So of course it's going to be night and day to what we experienced pre-Clement with Beale. And again, he did say about the mood's a lot better. Of course it is, because we're not down, we're not feeling frustrated and angry. We're all positive. We're looking forward to the next game. We're excited about how we're playing. I don't see it as a dig at all. I think it is just saying it as it is. And as I said, I think Lundstrom's been one of the ones as well that's been a bit of a fresh air kind of player. He's changed a wee bit as well, the way he's playing positionally, and the way his style has changed a wee bit, I've noticed. But certainly I don't think it was a dig at Beale at all. I think it was just saying it as it is. And it is a better mood, it's a better environment. The players are confident in each other and themselves. You can see that they're together a lot more. You see it with Lammers' goal, Desser's goal. They're all together. They're all celebrating, as a team should. But you can just see the relief and the satisfaction that we're getting from that, and it breeds confidence. And as I said before, confidence breeds results, breeds performances and goals and results, and hopefully trophies.
Yeah, good stuff. Absolutely, totally agree with you, Robert. I mean, Jai, what do you think's the kind of differences that you're seeing under the new manager? I mean, as Robert says, it is the same group of players. Yeah, we've had, people have maybe started to come back from injury. We've obviously lost a couple of people as well. Young Raskin's injured just now, but the differences that kind of stand out for you, what have you kind of noticed?
From a sort of if you like players' moves and sort of body language point of view, you got players obviously even from the start. You got players that look like they believe what they're being told from the manager beforehand. I know people are talking about making stuff clear and things like that. That could be the case. It's more clear. Yeah, they just look like they're trusting what the instructions they're being given, and obviously with the tactics being changed, 1 week we're playing 4-4-2, the next week we're playing 4-2-3-1, and that's all being due to the personnel. And I think that also just breeds trust in the players, that it's not the manager's just going to be playing the same way all the time. So they understand that the manager's going to pick the right tactics for the right 11 that are available and for the right team. And I just think if you get the players believing what the manager is thinking and telling you, that's going to be positive from the start, and then the performances come from that.
I suppose, Robert, the players would have heard them saying that everybody was getting a clean slate. He wasn't interested in what had been going on before. He wanted to give everybody a chance what he could see in training. So when you think about it, there's a couple of examples. Somebody like Scott Wright. We talked about Leon Balogun. These are two guys that. Well, Scott Wright was nearly on his way, wasn't he? Who can forget his interview when he was away to Turkey? We thought that he was going to sign for another club. Leon Balogun was so, out in the cold. But when the new managers come in, he's given everybody a clean slate.
It certainly has, and I don't think any of us could sit here and pick out somebody that's not performed over these past few games. I think they've all played at their best. They've pushed each other. They've pushed themselves. There's nobody that's looked as if they're not getting it. Maybe the jury will still be out on Dessers. I get that. But again, even he's getting the goals. He's took the goal against Hibs. He got the goal against Dundee. So that's just going to bring him confidence as well. So certainly it does seem to be a good environment for the players to be in. And I think as well what was important is you see it on the touchline when a substitution is made. Clement takes the time to speak to every single one of those players that come off the park about what we don't know, but we can only assume it's how he's assessed the game and maybe giving them some feedback right away at a stage of where he can do it immediately after the game rather than waiting until training the next morning. And I think the players are gaining from that as well. So it's all working well, and hopefully it continues for the foreseeable.
Yeah, good player management, good man managing, absolutely, JM. And did you see when Dessers didn't close down in the last few minutes of the game on Sunday? He wasn't too happy with him, was he?
No, he definitely let him know, didn't he? And I think it actually went on till after the game, didn't it? He went over for a little word to explain what he was expecting from him. But that's what you're wanting, isn't it? You wanted somebody that's setting standards, even though the game was, at that time 3-1 was done. But, he's wanting Dessers to show him what he can do for the next game, to show that he can trust him, whether that be against Prague on Thursday or whether that be at the weekend as well. He's expecting these players to come in and make an impression. I think that's good to see as well.
He's not getting carried away either, Robert. The way that he handles the media, all the questions he get asked about, the cup final, that's how he's got a chance to win a trophy. Right away, he's just, batted that back. He's already focused on the Prague game. He doesn't want to get drawn in, and, when he's been asked about a title race, whether that was us back in it, etc. He's just handling himself really, really well, and there's just an air of authority about him as well, Robert, I think.
Yeah, it is the old cliche of one game at a time, and he's certainly putting that across to the media, no matter what questions flung at him, as you say. I mentioned it on the show when he done his unveiling press conference. There was just an aura about him, the way he just sat in the chair and delivered the answers. It wasn't your Michael Beale sitting there telling you every single thing about a player's treatment or a player's fitness. It was just the key points were answered, and he doesn't hesitate in his answers either. He seems to get straight to the point, and he's quite clear about it. Although maybe English might not be his first language, he's very clear, and we can understand it. The players will sit and understand it. And again, it's just, for me, it's that experience that he's got of how to handle media, the noise about cup finals, opposition, everything. It's the same way he handles all of the topics, and I think that's just going to transpire. He's passionate on the sideline, we see that, but that's where he leaves it. He doesn't bring it into press conferences. We've not seen him go into an absolute rage yet, and hopefully we don't at any point in the media if it's went wrong. But again, I don't think he would do that in the media. I think we would see that in the changing room, and we wouldn't obviously see it, but the players would. But it's just the way he conducts himself. I'm really impressed. It's really professional, it's controlled, and it's experienced.
Yeah, I agree, Robert. I suppose one of the things as well, Jamie was talking about right away when he came to the club was trying to reconnect the players with the fans, because it had got a bit toxic, and rightly so from the fans' perspective. It was what we were watching week in, week out. But see, over the last couple of weeks, seeing the reaction of the fans when when the team have been playing well, we've been scoring goals. It's been fantastic to see, and all we wanted was a bit of hope and encouragement, and that's probably the biggest thing for me, JM, is just that there's something to build on.
Yeah, 100%. I think that was refreshing to hear right from the start, because it shows that obviously he's looked at what's going on and is aware that obviously the fans had enough of what they were watching, rightly so. The performances were well below par. But what else I think he'll show the sort of new players that came in it and maybe not seen it yet. Although it's a horrible club to play for when we're not doing well, it's a great club to play for when we are winning and giving the fans what they expect, the hard work and the quality. And hopefully a few of the new signings are starting to see this now. They start putting together these performances and that. These fans will back you. And it'll become a lot easier place to play Ibrox than it would have done maybe the first couple of months of their Rangers careers.
Yeah, and Robert, I mean, we've talked about Butland getting the club and really, has a real affection with the fans as well. But we've also seen it with other players. Cantwell, when he came in, he's obviously talked about his love for Rangers, and I think it was fairly genuine. I know anybody can say that, but I think we all took to Cantwell. But you've seen somebody like Danilo at the weekend. You've got the wee fan with his dad in the stand with the Brazilian flag, and he's over getting his photographs taken, and somebody that just really gets the club as well. And that's the sort of players we want to play for our club. We want them to play well, but we like to have that kind of a connection with them, I think, don't we?
Yeah, absolutely. And as you said, when it's not going well, there is a lack of connection, and we certainly make our voices heard by the way we respond at half time and full time. But that's the scenes you want to see. You want to see the players going over to the fans at the end of the game, interacting, especially with the young fans, because it's them that are coming out in all weathers to see the game and to get what Rangers is about. You'll hear it from your parents, but you'll feel the atmosphere, you'll feel the passion being there physically. I know with my wee ones, I take them to the games when I can, and they just thrive off the environment. So it's the positivity that you want, and you want that connection, as you say. And I'm sure, like a player like Danilo, he's only young himself. He would have been quite obviously a new club, big pressure playing at Rangers, but he's got his goals, he's got that connection with the fans. He'll feel a lot more comfortable now, as well Cantwell, Butland. Hendrick's got a song, really. Everybody gets a song about them if you're doing well. I think that's when you know. If you've got a song about you, then you're going to have a good time at Rangers, I think.
Yeah, I think that's right. Somebody like Connor Golson, I don't think he's got a song and he's been here for years, but we better not go down that route. Maybe that doesn't bother Big Connor. I don't know, but talking about him, have you noticed that he seems to, I don't know whether it's just me, but Connor looks a bit fitter and a bit more mobile, JM. I don't know. I know that they've always got a kind of mistake in them, but what defender hasn't? But he looks a bit more assured just now, Connor Golson.
Yeah, I think it's more to do probably being more assured in the whole setup and how the team's, defending as a team, not being left isolated. And Clements constantly speaks about, being good on the ball, but also being very structured off it. And that must relax defenders, knowing that they're not going to sort of be left on their own, hanging around at the back or whatever. I mean, you play as many games as Connor Golson has at centre-back for us. He's bound to make a few mistakes, isn't he? As the whole, I think he carries himself very, very well. But I think all the defenders and sort of the deeper players have maybe had a breath of fresh air this new manager, because there seems to be a bit of structure off the ball as well as on the ball.
Yeah, Robert. I mean, Connor Golson is always the first sort of name in the team sheet when it comes to the centre-half pairing. And he has actually had quite a lot of partners, in central defence since he came to the club. But I don't know about you, but him and Balogun seem to be quite assured together. They know each other, and I think Balogun was asked about that as well. And when maybe that they have got a bit of a relationship. And I suppose for Connor, he has had to play with different players in most of his time at Rangers.
Yeah, he certainly has. You just think of a few. Even this season, Balogun, Suter, Davies. He's at times last season he's played with Lundstrom, Leon King, and then even years down the line, you're talking maybe your Joe Worrells.
Yeah.
You're going back quite a few. But he's always that kind of, dare I say, steady Eddie. As Jim said, he's got a mistake in him, and when he does make a mistake, he does get scrutinised for it. But it's because we know of how high a standard he can play and how consistently he can play as well. As you said, he's had a number of partners, but nobody's ever dislodged him from that position. But he just looks comfortable no matter who he's with this season, especially. Obviously, Suter's looked pretty good on the left side of defence, despite being a right footer. Him and Davies, I still don't think have lost a Premier League game when they've played together. And then Balogun, they had the chemistry. They're 55 title winners together, so they'll have that experience. And Balogun himself personally is experienced, so it certainly bodes well. And I think Connor's that kind of player that you put anyone beside him, he'll do his job, and he'll cover the person on the left, whoever it may be. But again, it's that steady Eddie you get with Connor Golson.
Yeah, definitely. I think probably the manager it'll be horses for courses as well, and he might want to manage people's minutes. So it'd be nice to hear from some callers. Come in and tell us what your thoughts are on the new manager. Are you happy with the way the team's playing? So let's hear from you.
Why don't you give us a call on 0141 356 1972. It's your show, it's your platform. Let's hear from you.
So we're actually looking a bit more healthy in terms of the squad and the availability, and I'm sure the new manager will be very pleased with that, because he kept talking about this puzzle, didn't he, with all these injuries that we've had. So I think, in my reckoning, correct me if I'm wrong, Jai, I think we've really only got Rask and Suter and Matondo perhaps on the actual injury list now. Do you think, is that right? Yeah.
I think he's saying Roof's going to be longer term as well.
Roof,
Is that it? Roof as well? And then I think that's about it, isn't it? Of the long term, everybody else seems to be coming back from injury or whatever. I know the manager says a couple of times that we really need to get to the bottom of what's going on with Roof, and that could be a bit longer.
Yeah, and I suppose, Jai, we'll stick with you with this one. When we think about the squad, you've got people like Lawrence, obviously looking for more minutes. You've got Dowell, Barisic and Yilmaz are competing with each other now. Cifuentes to come back, and it's going to be competition for places, and that can only be a good thing as well, eh?
Yeah, 100%. It was good to see Cifuentes and Dowell almost had forgotten them, wasn't it? Because it was good to see them both come on at Dundee on Wednesdays. Oh, they both got a good 10, 15 minutes in them. And it's good to see that the manager, to be fair, is sticking to his word. I think he said at the start that it would be fitness and availability at the moment. It was going to pretty much, choose his 11 until everyone got fit, even going all the way back to the Hearts game when we were still 1-0 down. I think Cantwell, they were told that Cantwell would only be good for an hour, just over an hour, and he took him off after 65 minutes. So it shows that the manager is going to stick to his word and try and get, this squad fully fit, because, like he says, he's still got a couple of months of assessing to do before he sees what he's maybe going to have to do in January.
Yeah. And Robert, I suppose when the new manager came in, we thought he would be looking to, replace quite a number of players. I think, do you think that perhaps some of these players aren't as bad as we thought, based on what we had seen? I mean, it was an honest assessment that we were making, what we were seeing week in, week out, but perhaps that there's more of a future for some of them than maybe we had thought.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see. Obviously, if we continue the way we're going up until the window, it will be interesting to see how many he brings in, if any, and if that was the intended target. We'll probably never know what his number is just now in mind for January, and we'll never know if he met his target or had to go over his target, if whoever he brings in. But I think, as you say, maybe they're not as bad as we thought, but I suppose you're only as good as your last game. So as I said, if we keep going the way we are, the players will look good, the performances will be working well, there'll just be a smooth chemistry amongst all the players, and it's a positive outlook. One hiccup, and if it tundles onto another game, then we maybe see who is not cutting it, whose heads go down, who doesn't keep the mentality that he keeps talking about, who doesn't keep their kind of mentality together to try and get back in a game or let a performance affect them. And that will be interesting over these coming months. There's a lot of games to play between now and the January window. So we'll certainly see over time who he brings in and what positions as well. Because there's a few players out of contract in the summer, whether he tries to move them on as well in January or whether there's any contracts renewed. We've mentioned Lundstrom. I've seen a few posts about people thinking his current performances deserve a new contract. I don't know your thoughts on that one.
Yeah, I've seen that as well, Robert. I suppose, Jai, when we look at the contracts situation, I think, a few weeks ago we spoke about this on the show. I mean, the contracts that are up, I think the list, I remember it was Roof, I think Lundstrom, Barisic, Jack, Balogun probably, Scott Wright was one as well, McLaughlin too. So, Jai, these guys are obviously playing for their Rangers futures as well, and you start to think, well, would we possibly extend a couple of them if they keep playing as well as they are just now?
To be honest, I think we looked at the list last time. I think I said last time we went down this, I don't think there was any I would have renewed. I know Lundstrom's putting in quite a lot of good performances at the moment, but obviously the blokes, you got to think the bloke's a professional footballer. He's playing for a move. If he's being smart or whatever, he might even have a deal. He can start speaking to clubs in January. Maybe if he consistently puts these performances together, but also seen a lot of John Lundstrom I haven't liked over the last season or so that'll be interesting to see. But I think, to be honest, a lot of the players, especially when you look at Jack, Ruth and whatever, these are players that have carried a lot of injuries over the time. And some of the players, it's best maybe to say thank you, but, we're going to move on from this.
Yeah, aye. I think you're probably right, Jai. Sometimes, you don't want to get caught up in sentiment as well. Somebody like Ryan Jack, we talked about, his fitness record in the past, the amount of games he's been unavailable for. And I thought Jack played really well at the weekend. And again, we just need to manage his minutes, because I don't know about you, Robert, but I think when Jack's in top form, he's a really important player for us.
He is, and although I was surprised that he got the contract extension, I had a feeling it was going to happen. But I came on the show and I said at the time, personally, I think if he wants to prolong his Rangers career any further, he would have to give up the national team. Now, I know in the last few occasions he's pulled out of it, but if you're going to pull out of it, you may as well just retire from international and focus on your club career. You'll do a lot better at Rangers than you will at Scotland. Let's be fair. Yes, okay, you get to the Euros next year in Germany. That might be his time that he calls it after that. But certainly in terms of a personal level, what he wants to achieve, he'll get a lot more success at Rangers. And again, that's something that's probably missing from his list as well. I mentioned Tav earlier on. Ryan Jack's probably missing a few trophies in there as well. But again, as you say, he's an important player. He comes in at a point where we were maybe short with Raskin getting injured. Jack comes back into the fold, and him and Lundstrom seem to have a good partnership again as well. So it all kind of, from a puzzle, like Clement mentioned, to it's not as bad as first feared, and we've not got that many out, as you said, on the injury list.
Yeah, and Jai, they're going to all have to play their part in the run up to, even if you think about the winter break. So we've got 2 games to the this last international break. We'll all be glad of that. And then we've got some run of fixtures right through to the New Year game, when we've got to go to Parkhead. And I know that's quite a bit down the line. But all of these players are going to have to, step up at certain times, because you can't play the same 11 all the time. And I think we've probably learned that in the past, that we've relied on players too much, and we've ended up probably causing their injuries some of the times.
Yeah, 100%. I think we've been getting that in the past. I think especially there was a time near the end with Alfie, where we were relying on him constantly to play Europe League constantly, and he was never getting a break. I think this manager, hopefully, we can get through these 2 games, the international break, and then, hopefully we'll have a fully fit squad to go at. And I have full faith that, Clement's going to manage as well, pick the right players for the right game, offload players at the right time. I mean, especially in Scotland, if we have a full squad, if we, not every game's going to go perfect, but we should be having the ability to make 4 or 5 substitutions, with 20 minutes to go, and making sure our squad's fresh. So hopefully we can take advantage of that. And 100%, everybody's going to have their part to play, especially leading up to Christmas.
Yeah, so 2 really good results, over the last week or so. We had the brilliant comeback against Hearts, and as I said earlier, I thought that was crucial to keep the momentum going. Under the new manager, there is probably going to be a couple of bumps in the road, Robert, but it'll probably be how the players react to it. Because he's been talking about that, the challenges, seeing how that, they'll cope with perhaps maybe going a goal down the way that we did last weekend. And sometimes you learn more about your players in those moments than you do when you're actually winning games comfortably, Robert.
You do, you get to see who stands up, and we've always said that we expect the players to stand up and be counted and fight for the whole game. And a game of football now is not 90 minutes, it's nearly 100 minutes with the times added on. So as you say, if you do concede an early goal, there's plenty of time to get in the game again, whether that be a late show as we did against Hearts, or we get a quick reply and then we dominate from there on in. But again, it's the mentality that the manager expects. It's now something us as supporters have seen that we now expect. And I'm not saying now as in we didn't expect it before. I mean as in we know what Clement's about, and we know his message. It's not changed in any of his interviews or press conferences. He's said the exact same thing about winning everything. His mentality is to win, whether it be the League Cup, the Scottish Cup, the Champions League, the Europa League, whatever. He wants to win it. And I think that's a very positive mentality to have. And the players are certainly getting on board with it. And it's very positive to see. And I think I'll be honest, I'm a bit surprised that it's happened so quickly. I won't get ahead of myself too much, but it's very positive signs in very early days, which has took me a wee bit surprise, despite doing a bit of digging and knowing that he did get some results quite quickly when he took over Genk. But again, it's taken by surprise how quickly this same group of players have managed to perform over these games.
Yeah, that is a surprise, Rob, but I think it's taken, we've all been saying that. I think, JM, as I said earlier, we were just looking for a bit of hope when the new manager came in. We were looking to see something that we recognised as, some decent football, a bit of shape about us. We wanted to see the players, maybe playing like they knew what they were doing. There was some sort of a clear structure. And we're kind of seeing all those things, JM, and it's not been like, that we've been winning the game, every game 3-4-5-6-0, but we have seen some fairly decent football, and you've got to give the team credit for that.
100% some good football, and also not only are we seeing clear structure, we're seeing different structures. Obviously, the first league game we saw a 4-4-2. Then we went into Europe, if you like, played Seymour was at fullback. I don't know if we'd be classing that as a 3-5-2 or a 5-3-2. And then obviously the last couple of games with our personnel in midfield, we've gone to a 4-2-3-1. So what's good is to see is not only, is a manager trying different things, but the players are taking all these things on board as well and playing good football, because obviously it sounds easy, but players can't always adjust to these things right away and quickly, whereas it seems like the manager are giving these players, it's obviously clear instructions, and they're taking it on board and scoring goals and playing nice football at the same time. It's all good to see.
Well, guys, there's always shocks in Europe, but there's one thing that's consistent, is that a certain team is getting beat. Take it away, Fox. You are awful, Fox, but we like you.
Yeah, sometimes it's been the only thing I've had to laugh at this season, but it's been good. Now we've got other stuff.
Oh, he's terrible, Robert, isn't he? Couldn't resist that.
I wonder how long he's been sitting waiting to press it. Eager, the old Fox.
I know. Oh, well, he's easily pleased, and he's putting a few smiley faces in the chat. So listen, it would be good to get some callers in. Come in and give us some of your thoughts, as I said, on the new manager. Is there anybody in particular in the team you think isn't doing as well under him? Who's improved the most? So let's hear from you.
Six, 1972. It's your show. It's your platform. Let's hear from you.
He was a bit slow with the jingle there, guys, wasn't he?
I think
someone was getting a bit carried away. All good having fun as long as it doesn't affect production.
That's it. Wait till Ox comes back. He'll not be too happy. So we're going to, we've been obviously focusing on the last couple of games, and it was just fantastic to get through that semi-final. We've been in a couple of finals, obviously, over the last few years. We've won the Scottish Cup, but we would really like to get that League Cup, but we'll be parking that just now, and we're getting back to 2 big games before we break for this international break. So Thursday, Robert, we've got our next European game against Sparta Prague at Ibrox, and I know you were saying you got yourself a ticket, but I would imagine the atmosphere is going to be fantastic on Thursday.
Yeah, it always is. European nights at Ibrox are always special. And if we look at the table currently as it is, it could be a massive game where it puts us onto 7 points. We'll assume that Betis would beat Aris, and that puts them on 9. So there's a bit of a gap between ourselves and Sparta in third, getting into game 5. And that is obviously again for us at home to Aris. So by the time match day 6 comes against Betis, it could just be a formality by then. And that's a week before the cup final, or the weekend, sorry, of the cup final. So that's certainly a big game on Thursday. But it actually becomes a lot bigger when you look at the long term of things, of when the fixtures come out and how it can just transpire into the game 5, as I mentioned. But I think atmosphere is going to be incredible. Clement said, I'm sure the fans will come out in their numbers, and there's no doubt about that. We've seen it already. It's going to be a guaranteed sellout.
Yeah, and the players will be just, so looking forward to the games. As I said earlier, then, there's a connection with the fans, the atmosphere. It was a really important point that we got in Prague, and I think when we look back on that, it will be fairly crucial. But as Robert says, you're taking one game at a time, but you've got to be looking to take 6 points from these the two home games that will be coming up.
Yeah, 100%. Especially after we've shot ourselves in the foot a little bit after having such a great start to the group. I think the players will notice a completely different atmosphere, whereas a great result against Betis, I think there was more surprise amongst the supporters after what we watched compared to now, whereas we'll be going with, cautious expectation, knowing that we're playing some good football and look forward to watching it. But as you've both said, it's a run of important games. If we can get a win on Thursday, it puts us in a really good position to get out of this group. And then that gives us, hopefully, maybe even set out a shootout with Betis to maybe try and top the group.
Yeah, definitely. And there's a real incentive for us to finish top of the group, Robert. Because obviously if you go through then and you're in the last 16, whereas if you're second, which you would obviously take, but you would be, you would be in the last 32 and you'll be playing a team dropping down from the Champions League. So you want to finish as first if you can, Robert.
Yeah, of course, ideally you would want to finish first, and you've got, as you said, that guarantee of straight into the last 16. But we've seen in the past that when a team comes down from the Champions League, it's not a given that they're going to be the ones that progress. We can certainly, on the way we're performing now, we can certainly give a performance. And as I said, European nights at Ibrox, you can't predict what happens. I don't think any of us could have predicted the exuberance and the excitement of Leipzig and John Lundstram scoring that goal to send us to Seville. So anything can happen in European nights, but certainly finishing first would be perfect. But some fans would maybe want that extra game with the glamour away tie somewhere, especially in the cold months coming ahead. It might be somewhere a bit warmer.
So guys, we're just going to work up to the tune now, and hopefully we'll maybe get some callers after we have the tune. So if you get yourselves on mute, we're going to have a tune.
I've been in exile for some years and my eyes filled up with tears when the Rangers came to Wolverhampton town. So I took a trip along just to hear some famous songs when the Rangers came to Wolverhampton town. I stood there all alone while the boys all down from home sang of Rangers, that team of great renown. And a sight I'd never seen when they sang God Save the Queen, when the Rangers came to Wolverhampton town. There's not a team like the Glasgow Rangers, one of the famous songs they sung. And a sight I'd never seen when they sang God Save the Queen, when the Rangers came to Wolverhampton town. Now on the field below, the boys put on a show, the likes they'd never seen at Molyneux. And his football, it was grand from Macmillan, Scott and Brand, when the Rangers came to Wolverhampton town. There's not a team like the Glasgow Rangers, one of the famous songs they sung, and a sight I'd never seen when they sang God Save the Queen, when the Rangers came to Wolverhampton town. Now the white flag must come nearer with men like Bobby Shearer, the way he played at Wolverhampton town. And the world forever after would sing of Jimmy Baxter, for on his head they placed that noble crown. There's not a team like the Glasgow Rangers, one of the famous songs they sung, and a sight I'd never seen when they sang God Save the Queen, when the Rangers came to Wolverhampton town. Now I knew it had to happen, I heard a mighty roar, the famous Glasgow Rangers, they had scored. And the sky was white and blue, Wolverhampton shook right through, the loyal rampant Rangers had come through. There's not a team like the Glasgow Rangers, one of the famous songs they sung, and a sight I'd never seen when they sang God Save the Queen, when the Rangers came to Wolverhampton town. When the Rangers came to Wolverhampton town.
Why don't you give us a call?
What you thought of him so far?
I've been very impressed with Seamer, to be fair, considering, if you like, out of the new signings that came in pre-season, I think Seamer was probably picking up the most stick at the start, especially through the early pre-season games. And he's turned, well, consistently, probably Butland and then Seamer, been our best player so far. Not only been impressed with his ability, I think his attitude's first class. I mean, not many on-loan winger and strikers from the Premier League would come to Rangers and then play wing-back for you in Europe. And I thought the way he applied himself in that game was fantastic. So, yeah, very impressed with Seamer and very happy, and long may it continue.
Yeah, Robert, you've been impressed by him as well?
Yes, he certainly looked like he's turned it around. I know at the start of his Rangers career he looked a slow starter, and there was people questioning why we brought him in on loan, where he was going to play, whether he was a winger, a central player, and we didn't really know. We didn't really see his full potential. But I think over the last few games, we've discovered that he's quite influential, I think, at the more central position. But as J.M. said, he's done well out wide when asked, especially at that wing-back role away in Prague. And he's obviously been deservedly so recognised for his efforts. I think it was 4 goals in 5 games he scored in October. So certainly promising to see. And I think he had posted on social media tonight as well that he's feeling, I think it was, he's loving his time at Rangers and he feels he's continuing to improve on the pitch, and that's thanks to his teammates. So again, that's just breeding the confidence that's coming through the performances from all the players just now.
Yeah, you know, Robert, he put in some shift at the weekend, and he's done that in a few games recently when he's maybe just played slightly out of position. I don't know if you noticed as well, he wins some amount of headers in the defensive box as well.
Yeah, he has. He's using his height to great effect in both boxes. Again, as you said, he's got that energy about him, but he just seems to be able to run for days. I don't think it phases him how many minutes he plays the game before. He just runs and runs, and he puts in the effort to be liked by a supporter.
Young Kirsty Howard as well. She won the Player of the Month award in the Ladies League, and I think that's back to back. Fox informed me that first woman to win back to back Player of the Month awards. I think it was you, Robert, that said that. So well done to Kirsty Howard. Yeah, the ladies have made a terrific start to the season. A great Old Firm win before that recent international break there, and the 1-3-1 at the weekend. So let's hope the ladies can have a really good season too. Yeah, they're playing some really great football under their new manager. So Jai, what are you thinking about Thursday? How do you think we'll set up and team-wise? Is he likely to make some changes? I know there might be a few enforced changes because certain players are not named in the European squad, but what are you thinking yourself, Jai?
I think we might start to see this 4-2-3-1 again. I think maybe the 3-5-2 or 5-3-2 left is a little bit exposed and allowed them to have a lot of the ball last time. I also think, obviously, being at Ibrox, we'll try and be on the front foot this time with our players, especially it's been a couple of more games now for this team with the new manager and the confidence is up. We're going to want to go and take the game to them. So I think we'll probably see the 4-2-3-1 and hopefully on the front foot. And I don't think we're going to see too many changes. There are many that can't play from the starting 11 that started the game on Sunday. I was just thinking off the top of that, because the obvious one for me is obviously that Borna would still be playing, wouldn't he?
Yeah, I think Borna would need to play because Yilmaz isn't in the squad.
He's not in the squad, is he? No.
And unfortunately, Balogun is not one of the named players either.
Right, so that would suggest why maybe he got the nod again. I know Davies had a slight knock and why he'd been rested for Balogun, so you maybe expect to see Davies come into there. Because obviously, is Suter fit and back? I don't think Suter's quite back.
We haven't really heard anything about Suter. He obviously wasn't involved at the weekend, so it's maybe something that the manager will be asked about tomorrow. And as you said, we've got Davies there that would come back in, because I think actually Davies has started the 3 Europa League matches so far. From somebody heard somebody saying that today. So obviously he could come back in. I thought he's been injured, Robert, Davies, and sometimes he doesn't look the sharpest when he just comes back from injury, which you'd probably expect.
Yeah, as I said earlier on, it's somebody that can come in and just be comfortable and do the job that's needed. Again, as you said, picked up on there, he's played the 3 European games, is that right?
Yeah, I think he started the 3.
Yep, and I think he was highlighted in one of the games that he'd put a shift in. I can't remember if it was the Prague game away. He just looked comfortable. I quite like Davies in there just because of his natural left foot. I do think he will come back into the fold on Thursday night. And I'm with Jim. I don't expect too many changes. I think it could be just the change at the centre back. You see, Davies in for Balogun. It might be interesting to see whether he flings Scott Wright in to start, or whether he has him as a substitute and goes with the Cantwell, Lammers, Seymour, Danilo front pairing, and obviously Jack and Lundstram in the middle. But I don't know if he maybe thinks that Scott Wright might be worth of a start.
Yeah,
I was going to ask that. Who do you two think? I think that's the only position. I think between the 3, Cantwell, Lammers, and Wright, that could change. I was wondering who you two think who's going to get the nod there between the 3 of them for the 2 positions.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure. I tend to think that he'll probably go with Cantwell, and Scott Wright, might drop back to the bench. Now, I wouldn't be adverse to Scott actually starting and Cantwell coming off the bench, because Scott Wright did really well when he came on. But as you said, Jim, it's a different opposition. Robert said as well, it's the European game. I tend to think he might go with Cantwell, with Scott Wright dropping to the bench, and we know we can bring him on, Robert, and he can make an impact.
Yeah, we can. I just think, given the magnitude of the game, especially at home, I think you may play Cantwell in the 10 position and drop Lammers and have Scott Wright on the right and Seymour out on the left, just for that natural width, especially if we're going to be on the front foot attacking, trying to take the game to them. I think it may be Lammers that might be unfortunate to drop out, who, again, the jury's still out on him. He obviously got his goal at Dundee and it was an absolute peach. But I think, given the game, Cantwell probably starts for Lammers, and Wright maybe just merits a start with his impact at the weekend there.
That might be a good shout, JM, from Robert there, because we would then see Cantwell playing more of that kind of central number 10 position, and I think most people think that's his strongest position for the team.
Yeah, I'd agree as well. I think when you're going to get your best Rangers team out, I think Cantwell will be in that number 10. Unfortunately, just due to injuries and personnel, even last year, we haven't really got a chance to see him. We've seen him almost play everywhere else bar there. Eventually, so it'll be interesting to see what he thinks. I think it'll be Lammers and Cantwell with Lammers at the 10, but I agree that I think eventually that'll be our best team, and I think he'll be more looking to use Wright as an option of pace coming off the bench. But I agree, I'd like to see Cantwell eventually get a go in that number 10 position.
And Robert, do you think that Danilo's made the main striker's position his own now, and it's basically he'll be there for the foreseeable? I know we've got to be careful with his minutes as well, but you would tend to think that he's likely to start most of the games, Robert.
Personally, I would say he's the number one striker for us, just again basing it on current form and what we've seen of the two. I know they're different styles of strikers, but the way we play, I just think Danilo suits being the number one striker. The flip side to that is, in a European game, I wouldn't be surprised if he does go with Dessers just for a bit of physicality up front. But again, it depends on how Clement wants to approach the game. If it's fast and taking the handbrake off, as the old saying used to be, I think he'll go with Danilo for pace-wise. But if he wants the kind of physicality up the top, he may just go for Dessers. But personally, I would like to see Danilo cement that spot and make it his own, which I think he's on the way to doing.
Yeah, I tend to agree, Robert. JM, I think he's in good form, Danilo. He probably would agree that he should have a few more goals to his name. But we'll cut him a wee bit of slack for that, because he had quite a serious injury, and he's obviously just coming back from that. But even before he was injured, he tended to miss a few chances as well, and that's me just being picky. I think he'll definitely pick up on the goal front. I just like the way that his movement, his link-up play. I mean, that was a lovely wee ball he put through to Wright for Wright's goal. He won the penalty. You couldn't really ask for much more from him, I think, JM, just now.
No, 100%. I think the goal, well, he is scoring goals, but more goals will come eventually as he gets sharper. But what's refreshing to see, which with respect to Dessers, we haven't seen so far this season, is a striker that can link up the play. And, and we're creating more chances and getting more opportunities because he's just doing the simple things right. Just a bit sharper with his movement, getting other people involved. I think he will eventually be the mainstay. I think the only way you won't see Danilo start on Thursday if it's due to fitness. Because to be honest, I think he's shown he can be physical enough anyways. And he's as good a player, if not a lot better than Dessers, he's with his back to goal. So I think the only reason Danilo don't start if it's due to fitness, if it's out of Clement's hands.
Do you agree, Robert? Do you just think that we'll stick with Danilo, and if we need to bring Dessers on, then we'll just bring him off the bench if we want to just manage Danilo's minutes?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, as James said, the only way that Danilo won't start or gets taken off is just for fitness-wise, just to build up that 90 minutes match sharpness again. He obviously got, as I said, the 75 against Dundee, started in the weekend. It's just whether he can go 3 games in the space of 7-8 days that quick after an injury. Although it's a facial injury he's had, just the match sharpness might not be there. So I'm sure we'll find out a lot more tomorrow at a press conference about the idea. He'll not tell you his team, but he'll certainly give you an indication to maybe who may start.
What about the midfield guys, JM? What about Lundstrom and Jack? I mean, this would be Jack's third start in the week. Do you think that's going to be manageable for him?
I think in an ideal world, Jack wouldn't be starting that many games. Both Jack's probably old enough and wise enough to admit it might not be too good for him, and the manager wouldn't. But unfortunately, I just think it's essential as a moment, isn't it? I don't think we've got anybody else fit enough. Obviously, with Raskin out, we're not quite sure how long for. Cifuentes and Dow to come back in. They're not up to match sharpness. So, you know, they're going to be starting. Hopefully, as they get fitter, we can maybe take the load off Jack a little bit. But yeah, I think it's going to be them two, isn't it, at the moment? They've both played well the last two games, so let's just hope this game isn't one step too far for the legs of especially Ryan Jack.
Robert, just changing the subject sort of slightly just now, it was the fans forum over at Edmondson House tonight. Something that you think's a good thing, something that you think the fans will appreciate?
Yeah, 100%. I think Bisgrove touched on it when he was first appointed, that he wanted to have that connection between the board and the fans and that voice and continuity. And I think as supporters, we want to be heard, and these forums are ideal. We get to ask questions that we want to ask, and it's not put through media channels. And again, the board are quite forthcoming. I was just reading some of the questions that have been asked tonight. There is a link on Twitter with all these questions. I think it was 4 lads had a dream that had it. They've posted it, and there's some interesting points on it about questions that obviously as supporters we want to know. Believe it or not, the first one, or one of the first ones, comes down to the injuries and fitnesses, just what we mentioned there. And Clement actually answers it with, we know the reason, but we won't go into that. We move forward. So very early on that there was an issue highlighted, and it's clearly in the process of getting fixed. And I think that's a positive for us as well as supporters to know that the manager has seen there's an issue and it has been addressed. But yep, certainly going to be good reading tonight, reading all these fans forums, but certainly a thing that I'm quite happy to see happen.
Yeah, and Jai, this whole thing about the robustness of the players and, you know, they need to be more durable, it's just something that he's been constantly asked about since he came into the club, isn't it? Because let's face it, Jai, it's something that we've been putting up with for the last 2 years. And as fans, I think we've been quite bemused by it. We've never really had any proper answers as to why all these injuries were happening. And it's quite reassuring that our manager is really into that and he's getting answers.
Yeah, 100%. We've put over a couple of years now, basically a squad of bare bones, haven't we, for various long-term injuries, different players, or you'd have certain players coming back for maybe a game or two, and then the next minute they're out for 6 weeks again. No explanation. You know, have they been brought back too soon? Are they not managing themselves? It's one of the first things he said when he came in, wasn't it? That he wanted, you know, to be more like top athletes. That was physically and mentally. And it's obviously he's mentioned it a few times, and because he's mentioned it, he's being asked about it more. But what I like about it, he's not going into, you know, ridiculous detail. It's being kept in house, but he's making it very, very clear that he wants his squad to be a lot fitter.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Robert, every club has injuries. You know, they're part and parcel of the game. And, you know, you sometimes wonder in terms of what's going on behind the scenes when we see injuries happening, you know, week in, week out. And I think, Robert, it's been the length of the time players have been out. You know, we've been told that somebody's got a knock, they might be out for a week, and then we don't see them for 4 or 5 weeks. And that's been happening continuously at Rangers for the last couple of seasons.
Yeah, it has, and it even goes back maybe a few years, like you say. The old cliche of John Eustace was 10 days away, Jordan Rossiter was 14 days away, and they never came back. And it just seems to be a thing that's continued where we don't get the full picture. And although we might not need to, but we kind of want some more clarity about things. I like the way that Clement addresses the kind of issue about the fitness and the injuries, and he doesn't say that they'll be out for 2 weeks, because then that's a time frame, that's pressure on the medical staff. He says that it's monitored, it's continuing, especially the Kemar Roof situation recently was asked about, and he just said that it's been reviewed and he'll go and see somebody. That was it. There was no time frame on it, no expectation. And again, that's just something that he knows himself that there's been issues. He's not going to tell us what it is, but it's positive to hear that he is addressing those situations and getting them rectified so that they don't happen again, or at least not as often or frequent.
I think, JM, I read somewhere that in Clermont's previous clubs, in terms of the first team squad's availability, he had 90% availability, which is, when you think about our availability for our squads over the last couple of seasons, that's quite something.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone could pull it up or would be able to find out, but I wouldn't mind seeing our stat. It'll be nowhere near 90% availability, that's for sure. No. It'll be nowhere near, well, we've been at the bare bones at times. No, I think it's right, especially when, all being well, we're hoping to play, 50 to 60 games a season between Europe and the league and cups, obviously. And we need a big squad. We need to be fit. But what I like is not only is he saying it, but the way he's been managing the players early on. I've mentioned it earlier on about Cantwell against Hearts. It didn't matter that we were chasing the game at that stage. Cantwell was only fit for 60 minutes. He came off. We were 1-0 down. But he knew that for the longevity of the season, he couldn't play Cantwell any longer. These players, Dow and Cifuentes and whatever, they're coming on for 50-minute stints, Lawrence at the weekend. It's all adding up with what he's saying. Not with previous managers where, hearing one thing and seeing another.
Robert, we talked earlier on about Tom Lawrence and his wee cameo role at the weekend. And when Tom Lawrence came to our club, he'd hardly had an injury. I think it was very unfortunate. We've obviously near enough missed a full season. He came with a good reputation, made a really good impression early on, but I'm really looking forward to seeing him, Robert, just to see if he can kick on and, shows that he's the footballer that we think he is.
Yeah, he's came up from south of the border. You can see the difference in quality that we mentioned about Butland earlier on having. Lawrence is the same. You can just see the way he controls the football, his awareness, his movement. It's just a difference, and it's clear to see when you actually watch the games back. Maybe not see it initially in live, but you certainly see it in the highlights. And as you say, they did come with great potential. We've seen how energetic he was. We thought he was going to be a starter, and unfortunately did get that injury. And we just hope now that he does kick on and he can be a part of the squad, whether that's a starter or an impact player. But again, the more games that we have, the more chance that we're going to get to see the kind of players like Lawrence, and might even see Roof at some point again during the season. They'll all be called upon, especially if we're in the 4 competitions deep into them. So it's going to be a telling time for the players who have been out injured to get back up to match sharpness, because we're starting to see how well this team can actually play, and it's up to the players who have been injured to now reach that potential as well. So they've got more hurdles to get there, but I'm sure over time they will, and they'll be quite effective, and we'll be needing them when we need them.
You just wonder as well, Robert, just sticking with you on Roof, whether he's a great finisher, and let's hope that we do see some of Kamar Roof, but you wonder if he would have the type of fitness to play the sort of game that he wants his forwards to play, Robert. That intense press, constantly, on the front foot. You just wonder if Kamar's going to have that level of fitness to even sort of sustain that for a game.
Yeah, that's the thing. Especially, as I said, the more games we have, we're going to have maybe 3 games in 7 or 8 days most times. So whether he can keep that going, he may be able to do it one game, maybe only 70, 80 minutes, but it could be a game on a Sunday away to maybe a Livingston, where you maybe can get away with resting Danilo or Dessers and playing Roof. And again, it's not that press that you're going to have, but again, it's a different type of player. I suppose it just depends on the personnel we've got available and the oppositions that we have, but I would like to see Roof in around the squad again. I still think he's a very good player, very good finisher, and his goals to game ratio has been very impressive for us. I don't think he will get renewed with a contract, unfortunately, but I think he still has somewhat to play in this season, whether it will be before the end of this year or within next year. We'll certainly see over time.
So we're heading into the last half hour of the show. We've enjoyed chatting about all things Rangers, but it would be good to get some callers in even for the last half hour. So let's hear from you.
Why don't you give us a call on 0141 356 1972. It's your show, it's your platform. Let's hear from you.
Yeah, Kamar Roof, you know, he is probably one of the best finishers that we've had at the club over the last few seasons, but unfortunately we've just not seen enough of him, and anything that we get out of Kamar between now and the end of the season, I think is kind of it'll be like a bonus for us, really.
Yeah, 100%. There's no doubt if he's playing week in, week out, he'll score goals for us. Some of the great goals we've seen him score for us have been, really good. But what you and Robert are going on about there, what the good thing I think about this manager is if we were, if Kamar Roof was to play and we were to play him, I'd like to think we would adapt our tactics to play him up front, and we'd find a way of playing where he could do his best work in the box, whereas with other managers in the past have tried playing him at right wing against top of the league at the time. And that hasn't worked. I've got a feeling if we do get Kamar Roof back and playing fit, Clement's going to have him doing, his work where he does it best, and that'll be in the box. And hopefully he can get us a few goals before the end of the season.
And if we're heading into the transfer market in January, obviously there's still quite a lot of football to be played. But if you were looking at the team just now, Robert, and the squad, what sort of a position do you think Clement might be looking to strengthen? Just kind of early indications for him.
Probably say left back, just because obviously Badge's contract's running out at the end of the season. I'm not sure what his thoughts are on Yilmaz. Obviously his height's not going to get any taller, so he's going to be out jumped for most things aerially. But I still think he's a very quality attacking fullback. Just looking out early, I would say a left back and maybe just a centre midfielder. Again, it may even be more just because you've got Lundstrom out of contract and Jack out of contract as well. So centre mid and left back.
Yeah. I mean, we've been talking about this, a lack of kind of natural width. But I thought on Sunday when Scott Wright came on, it wasn't a case of he was stuck out as a kind of a so-called winger taking, players on. I thought he was just driving forward, because when you think about, the position of the play that ended up with a free kick, Scott Wright was actually driving through the middle and he got pulled back. So, I mean, I think if we would need to see how Matondo would fit into, Clement's way of playing, but that's something that we've maybe spoken about, is that we maybe need a wee bit more width in the team.
Yeah, I think width and pace, wasn't it? I think that's how sort of Bill kind of fell apart on Matondo in the end, because he realised he had left himself a team without any pace. But I think I'd like to see. You're probably going to need to look at two wingers, aren't you? Because I think we're going to do well to have Seamer on the left next year, because obviously Brighton, if he keeps playing like this, he's probably going to end up out of our sort of budget. So a couple of wingers, and I agree with Robert that I probably think with Jack probably going to be when he's out of contract, Lundstrom out of contract, with Clement not seeing the other two that have been injured, I think he's going to be looking for a proper midfielder that's going to play 40, 50 games for us, and sit in there, an old school sitting midfielder. Yeah,
it's a good shout. Robert, you got a wee update on the B team?
Yeah, it's just come out in the final stages, and unfortunately they're 4-2 down to Airdrie, so they will be exiting the SPFL Trust Trophy. But they were the last B team standing this far in the competition, so it's no embarrassment going that far in the competition. Noticeably tonight, Kieran Dowell got some minutes. I know Jim said it earlier on. He got about 75 minutes from coming back from injury there, so he was the kind of only noticeable player mentioned. Ross McCausland wasn't part of the squad, and Bailey Rice has also played as well tonight.
Yeah. Do you expect young McCausland to be part of the European squad? Yeah, Robert?
Yeah, I think so. Again, I was just reading the fans forum there. I'll not spoil it for anybody, but Clement has actually name dropped Ross McCausland, almost the way that Beale name dropped Bailey Rice. So he's certainly said he's looked at the B team games, he's looked at the academy, and they'll have a good one in Ross McCausland, who it does now look that he is going to be in the first team picture quite a bit going forward. But I certainly think he'll be on the bench on Thursday night.
Yeah, and Robert said earlier on, McCausland's actually out of contract. I'm sure he is. That's right. At the end of this season, so he'll be somebody we surely would be looking to sort of tie down for a longer deal.
With the manager, if the manager's coming out and saying things like that, you like to think that'll be happening sooner rather than later. Don't want to lose out on him if he's as good as we're going to think he's going to be. But hopefully, he's had some good cameos, hasn't he? Looked all right. Came in, especially the first couple of times when the team obviously wasn't playing its best. So hopefully we can get him into a Rangers team that's playing well and see how he gets on then.
Yeah, and you would want to get him some minutes, because as a young player, you wouldn't like him just to be sitting on the bench every week and not playing at all, for his own development. You would like to think that we would use him. We've obviously only got the 2 games to the international break, but after that, you would like to see him getting some game time, wouldn't you, JM?
No, yeah, it must be hard for young players, wasn't it? Because typically you only you'd have to be really special to get the chance, or if the team's doing really, really badly, or take that chance. But he got maybe his opportunity through that, and he's been not a mainstay, but he's been around since, so he's obviously conducted himself well. But yeah, you'd like to see him get you don't want to just hand out starts for the sake of it, but if the manager that's believing it, maybe if you get the right time to start him, and maybe in a home league game or something like that, and just see how he handles himself and give him the chance to show that, he deserves to be there.
Robert, he's been played kind of on the right of the front 3, hasn't he, when he's come on, I think, for his wee cameo roles. Looks as if he's got a wee bit about him. He's not afraid to drive forward, and that's what young players do. They don't really have any fear.
No, they don't. They just want to go on and kick the ball and chase the ball, and it's refreshing to see when a youngster comes through, and hopefully he does kick on. Well, we know obviously Bailey Rice has been mentioned about being the next one from the academy. He is 16, 17 years of age as well. McCausland is, I think, in his early 20s, so he's at the age where he should probably be breaking into the first team, and cementing a position there if it's available. Right wing, right mid, whatever you want to call it. It's not really been replaced, I don't think, since Daniel Candias. So if that's a position that McCausland can go and grab the jersey, I'm certainly he'll thrive on that. And I don't think any of the fans would be unhappy if we saw one of our own come through the academy and be a big part of the club going forward.
So the new manager, obviously, he's had a really positive effect, on the team, on the club. He's had a positive effect on the fans as well, JM. But, it's something that we'll probably debate maybe even during the international break. But his report card so far, marks out of 10. What would you give him, JM?
At the moment, all you can do is give him full marks, isn't it? He's done well. He's came into a depleted squad with not everyone to pick from so far. He's managed that well, managed to get people back fit and playing. He's managed to excite the fans, a couple of big wins, got the right results, got a good point away in Europe, got us into a final. Yeah, 10 out of 10 for Philippe for me so far.
Yeah, that's a fair shout. I mean, Robert, when he came through the door, we were just looking for him to give us something positive, something to sort of hold on to. We needed to get back to winning games and just a wee glimpse of some better style of football, and I think he's definitely managed those things.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's something, as you said, we wanted to see a structure and a style, and it's evident now that we can actually see that on the park. We're sitting, how many games in will we sit and going, we still don't know Michael Beale's style here. He's mentioned it in press conferences and interviews, but we can't see it. Whereas now we can see the transactions going forward, the movement and defence, moving side to side. It's night and day. And again, I think that just comes with experience. We've got somebody who has a track record of winning trophies with teams where he's went into and got instant results, and that's what's happening here as well. I said earlier on, I'm a bit surprised it has happened so quickly because it is the same group of players, but it just goes to show you that one small change could just bring out the best of some players. And I think when I was on one of the shows, I asked JM and GB who was going to be the player that improves the most under Clement. I don't think we can actually pick one right now who has. I think they've all improved, and that's obviously making us very successful going forward, and let's continue it.
Yeah, I think last night on the show they maybe ran a poll and got comments on who they thought was the most improved player under Clement. Maybe Fox will come in and tell me who won, because I can't remember. I think Lundstrom might have actually been quite high up in terms of when the guys were doing the votes. I mean, Lundstrom, you had to kind of say, what you were seeing with Lundstrom. He just, under Michael Beale, he seemed to have this role where he just slowed all the play down. You hardly seen him crossing the halfway line. Wasn't very positive at all, JM. And we just seemed to think that he just all he seemed to do was play sort of 5-10 yard passes between him and the central defenders. He just looks a different player again.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's it, but if he did win the poll, I'd say that's fair enough. I tend to agree. He looks a different player now to be there. It's weird, isn't it? Playing in the same position, but playing it so differently. Even though he is dropping back into that position sometimes between the centre-backs and the full-backs, his passes are more direct. They're forward. He's getting about the pitch more, making more tackles, not dancing. Sometimes it was literally, like you say, tapping it between him and Goldson, and then back away again. And it was getting tedious to watch. And I think the fans are right to be frustrated. But what a difference a manager can make, because I thought, especially on Sunday, in the first half, he was the best player on the pitch. And obviously a good game at Dundee, and since he's been great since Clement came in. So long may that continue. But all good from John Lunch.
And Robert, did you see Scott Wright making that sort of impact? And it's still early doors. We understand that. But I always thought there was a player in Scott Wright, but he always frustrated us because he used to come off the bench and he wouldn't make any impact at all, despite the fact that he'd been sitting watching a game for maybe 60, 70 minutes. But it could be it's just down to what Clement's asking him to do. He might just be making it more simple for Scott.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you say, he's probably getting played in a position that he's familiar with. I think if you cast your mind back to one of the pre-season games very early on, I'm sure Scott Wright at one point was playing right back. So it tells its own story when that was when he was obviously meant to be going out the door. And it kind of spoke volumes at that point that you're playing right back and you're going out the door. It didn't really come across as a good look, and I'm sure they've probably felt that. But again, it's a player that's been on the outside that it's a clean slate, as you mentioned earlier on, that he's just went and grabbed a chance. And again, as Sam said, he's took his goal very well at the weekend. He must have something about scoring against Hearts at Hampden. I think that was his last Rangers goal until the weekend. There was the cup final against Hearts when he scored. So there's something about Hearts and Scott Wright.
I think he was getting called Mr. Hampden, and it was a lovely wee moment as well when I saw that he was in touch with Scott Arfield, saying that he was maybe going to do one of his salutes, and then obviously after he scored, he ran over and they had a wee exchange on Instagram. So that was really nice to see. I think we might have been joined by Southside. Are you in, Southside? No, not in yet. No. JM, did you see that wee exchange that he had with Scotty Arfield?
Yeah, I saw that. It was quite good, wasn't it? After the game, good for him to see whatever. No, good for Scott, right? He's taking a clean slate, and taking his chance at the moment, isn't he? Isn't there much wrong? So hopefully, I mean, somebody with his pace and obviously if he can continue to finish like he did on Sunday, there'll be a place for him in our team. Just hope he keeps it going.
Yeah. Are you in, Southside? You might be on mute.
I can hear you, Linda.
Are you doing a bridge, man?
I was doing a bridge and I kept jumping back onto mute. I just headed back up after the B game tonight.
Oh, how did they lose 4-2 Southside?
Lost 4-2. Airdrie scored a free kick in the last couple of minutes, but
Right.
Rangers had a better second half. Kieran Dell scored, and the boy Joshua Gentle scored. We were 1 up, and then Airdrie they played a lot of long balls tonight, Linda. I thought they played a lot of football usually, but they played a lot of long balls. They had 2 wingers that were lightning quick.
Right.
There was a few changes to the B team. Obviously, Ross McCausland wasn't in the squad. Neither was Archie Stevens. Neither was Zach Lovelace. So that sort of made a difference to the team tonight, you know.
Yeah, because they're a big miss, aren't they? You know, these are guys that have been played continuously with the B team, so they would have missed them. Anybody else stand out for you? Anybody we should be looking out for?
The young boy Aaron Lyle again was a standout tonight. To be number 10, middle of the park. He played in beside Kieran Dell, played sort of number 10 tonight. But Aaron Lyle had a good game tonight. I know he was on the bench against Dundee. So hopefully he's another boy that can maybe push his way into the squad. He's physically quite strong as well. So he had another good game. And the wee boy at left back, Robbie Fraser, the captain, had a decent second half, and he was up against a boy with lightning pace in the first half. They done really well. The 2 wingers actually were really quick, Linda, no?
Yeah, good stuff. And you said Dowell got a goal?
Aye, Kieran Dell scored. He played the number 10 role tonight. Decent game. I think it was just to get more fitness into his legs. Strolled the game, obviously, but a pick of the boys. But Airdrie had 3 academy players that we had for us in the past. Callum Gallagher. They had Rhys McCabe, obviously, as their manager. And they had the boy Charlie Telfer playing for them as well.
Do you think that's Dowell with maybe a view for Thursday night back in the squad? Because I was just looking at this, he wasn't on the bench on Sunday, Southside, wasn't he not, Dowell?
I don't think he's in the squad, Linda. I don't think he's in the European squad.
Oh, is he not?
No,
Right,
I don't think he was in it. But I think it was just to get more fitness into him, you know, get more game time into him.
Yeah, because we've got a few issues for Thursday night. We've been speaking about that, about some of these players that are obviously not listed. Southside, we've got Balogun dropping out. We've obviously not got Yilmaz. So he's got this conundrum again. I think he was talking about the manager, wasn't he? Because he's obviously alluding to the fact that he's picking play from a list that he didn't have anything to do with that. But we'll just have to go on with it, won't we?
Aye, 3 November's interesting. Stay heating this motor, shocking.
Is that another caller we've got?
No, that's Albert just shouting. He's trying to keep his eye on the road. He's meant to be driving.
Is it cold down in Bishopton?
Oh, we've just passed it, by the way. We've just passed it. Especially with your blazer, folks, I tell you.
Did you try and get on the pitch, Albert?
I want to have a go with Airdrie trumpets. He wouldn't back me up.
Albert was running faster than the linesman tonight.
Oh, goodness. No, Southside, we're just saying, obviously, there's going to be a couple of players dropping out that he won't be able to pick, and then we've ended up with another couple of players injured. So it's a bit of a conundrum for the manager again.
Aye, just have to pick who's available, Linda. As Albert keeps preaching, if we're struggling for a left back, he wants Kieran Dell, but he's not in the squad, so no matter. But no, we're hoping that, listen, Thursday night's just about getting the result. Performance doesn't matter. If we can get the 3 points, that's us took 4 points off Sparta Prague. It'll put us in the right good position in that table, in that group, you know. So that's what we're looking for. 3 points in Thursday night.
Yeah. Southside, just while you're on, we were talking earlier on about the when Clement came in, he wanted to try and get that connection between the players and the fans. I mean, you go to all the games. Have you noticed, I know it's probably an understatement, right, it's obvious, but has there been a big difference now in terms of when you're going to the games?
I think when you're going and you're travelling now, you're a wee bit more optimistic, Linda. I mean, you always think the Rangers can win, but you know what it's like when the team's been a bit disjointed and before. But since Philip Clement's come in, you feel more confident that you understand the team's going to have a style and an identity. And the fact that we've been creating chances and scoring goals now, it gives you that bit more confidence. So it's been positive since he's come in, Linda. And it's baby steps, but it's all been positive. At least we've got an identity now, you know.
Yeah, and just talking about tickets, because I know you guys are always looking for them. What's your opinion in a 50-50 split for the League Cup final?
No. No.
Surprise.
No, not at all.
No, absolutely not. Considering their end was near enough empty anyway, it's quite. There's been quite a bit about it on social media today. Hopefully that won't get authorised, but you never know. So you and Stevie are on tomorrow night, aren't you?
I am on tomorrow night with my big mucker. Yes.
Yes, I'm assuming he's very happy just now.
Stevie, I don't know. I've not spoke to him. I'm in the motorway all better.
No, but what I mean is, in general, he's happy with his team.
Stevie, he seems to be a bit more upbeat now. He had 4 pies at the weekend and rather than his 3, so I was really happy.
Right, okie dokie.
Right, I'll go when he's going, mate, all right, but
okay.
It's just unfortunate the Rangers couldn't get the job done, but a wee bit less experience tonight in the B team, considering a few of the players. Bailey Rice played as well, Linda. He was on the park.
Yeah, how did he
tonight.
Play?
He wasn't very good, to be honest, you know. Didn't have a great game, so just everybody keeps shouting he's due for the first team and that. He's playing against an elderly team sitting 6th in the championship, and to be honest, he didn't really impose himself this evening, but unfortunately that's a the Challenge Cup. But hopefully we'll see Aaron Lyle maybe keep making it the first team squad, because he's a great player.
Southside, just a wee message from Fox before you go. He said that the Southside Super 6 was up tonight in Madrid.
No worries. I didn't know. That's some spoiler. I'm going home to watch all these highlights.
No.
That's good. That makes the night.
Good stuff.
Right,
good
thanks
night,
very much.
Southside.
Right.
Good night,
Right.
Albert.
Bye.
See you later,
Good night, boys.
Bye. Right, guys, that was a raving reporters, Robert. What did you think of that?
That's not bad. I can't believe they've not stopped in for a cup of tea with me. That's shocking. I'll be having words with you too next time.
JM, hot off the press, a report on the B game.
The B team at the B team. Hey, it was good. Wasn't it? It was good to get a little review of the game. Good to hear Kieran Dowell strolled it. Hopefully that'll be him fit and ready for the weekend.
Because we've not seen much of him, JM, haven't we? Not. I mean, he came to the club with another one with a wee bit of injury history, but he scored a good goal and he looked quite bright.
Yeah, it was. He scored a good goal. It was at Livingston, wasn't it? At home, he scored a cracking goal, and he was starting at first when he started away at Rugby Park and whatever, and was obviously a bit of a mainstay. But I think it'd be good to get him fit again and see him playing in a good team. Because obviously I think it's fair to say that from the start of the season that these guys deserve clean slates, because it wasn't a very good team we were putting out, was it? So it'll be interesting to see how he can impose himself in the squad now he's playing under Clement and where Clement sees him playing. Interesting that Southside said he was playing at number 10. I wonder if that's where they see him playing, or that was just to give him sort of an easy run out, if you like.
Yeah, Robert, we've got quite a few number 10s vying for that kind of central role up front, haven't we?
We do, yeah, and they all offer something different. Obviously, we'd probably say Cantwell's probably the most natural we've got at number 10. I like Dibble, just obviously not seen enough of him, unfortunately. But I like to look at him at pre-season. And then obviously you've got Lammers and young McCausland can play in the 10 as well, I believe. So a lot of options in the 10 position. It's just maybe elsewhere in the park might be a bit light still. But if any of the players can drop into that midfield and be an advanced playmaker as such these days, then again it's more options for the manager.
I think the next 2 games, we've obviously got the Prague game on Thursday, then we've got what you would think is maybe a tricky away game at Livingston. I think sometimes we always make quite a big deal of it because of that plastic pitch, but I don't know about you, but I would just take any 2 victories, and I know we want to keep the good football going, JM, but any 2 victories would do me for the next 2 games.
100%. Doesn't matter how you win any of the games, doesn't it? As long as you get the win. Yeah, Thursday's a big one. I don't think Livingston have been on the best form at the moment, but obviously that plastic pitch is a bit of a leveler, and obviously if us playing on Thursday, we'll use a lot of energy on Thursday. But this manager can do wins and get a national break. We can have a reset and hopefully get a few players back fit and ready to go. But a big few days coming up for us, isn't it?
Yeah, Robert, the manager will need to have his wits about him, because if game by game, Europe, it's a totally different list of players he seems to be picking from, and then obviously he'll have a different sort of list of players that he can use on Sunday. So it is quite a conundrum for him.
It is, but hopefully we've got more players fit for Sunday. If there's any wins missing for Thursday night, we'll obviously find out tomorrow in the press conference who's going to make it, the ones that are in the European squad. But I suppose that's the bonus of players not being in the European squad. For example, if you're talking about maybe Balogun not being in the European squad, Davis slots back in there Thursday night, and then you maybe have Balogun coming back in for the Sunday away to Livingston, just to have a bit more physicality with the boy Newbley, who always seems to cause some issues at Livingston as well. So although it's a different group of players you might have to choose from, hopefully there's more in both squads that he can use, so he gets a familiarity with the team and that gets some consistency basis going. But as JM says, 2 big games, and I would certainly take 2 Bridgemans. Yeah,
2 Bridgemans would do me as well. And Robert's making a good point about being able to change up the teams as well, JM, and it adds maybe a wee bit of freshness too, because it's been a wee bit of a heavy schedule. It's since he came in, he's not really had any time, on the training pitch. Realistically, when you think about it, we've played every 2 to 3 days. So if we get the 2 victories, takes him into the international break, and we'll have players away, but it will give them some time with some of the players to work on things, I think, JM.
Yeah, it'll give it. Sorry, I was on a bridge there. Yeah, it'll give him a lot of time to analyse things and talk over specific with some players. It'll be good to rest up. Maybe be looking at who's fit and who will maybe suit the plastic pitch on Sunday. The last thing we want to do is risk anything when we're just starting to get some players back. But obviously, the most important thing is to get the win. It'll be interesting to see who does pick on Sunday, because he's not going to want to risk any injuries on that surface.
Yeah, Robert, that is a good point. You'd maybe think there'd be certain players that he wouldn't risk. There's players in our team that you just wouldn't want to put on a plastic pitch just now. And then there's some guys that, somebody like John Lundstrom, Tav, Golson, they seem to be able to play in any surface. And, the amount of games that they're available for is quite something at times, isn't it?
It is, yeah. Again, that's the consistency. You have a spine of a team, whether it's your goalkeeper, centre-back, right through to the attacker. If you've got a group of players, maybe say 6 or 7, and you're changing maybe 3 or 4, then it's fine to have a consistency basis. Just on players, when you mentioned about not playing on plastic pitches, first one that springs to mind for me is going to be Ryan Jack. If he plays on Thursday, which I think he will, I don't see him starting on Sunday, especially on that plastic park. But then it poses a question of who comes in and replaces him. Does Cantwell drop deep? Does Cifuentes come in? That's obviously going to be up for debate over the next couple of nights on the show. So it'll be interesting to see who does play on Thursday, and then more so who plays on Thursday going into this Sunday. Going into this international break.
Yeah, because Ryan Jack, as I said, when he's on the top of his game, JM, I think he brings so much to the team. As I said, I thought he played really well on Sunday, quite a bit of urgency, tried to get the ball forward quickly. He's added a couple of goals to his name this season as well, but it is just a matter of managing Ryan Jack, isn't it? And see if we can get the most out of him.
Oh yeah, he's a great player when he's fully fit, isn't he? It's about just making sure you pick him at the right times. Like I said, I thought he had a lot of energy. I thought, obviously in Dundee, being sharp enough and not playing for a long time to come in and get that goal, get the tap in, he reacted quicker than anyone else on the pitch. Obviously, great experience in the Scottish game, knows how the league works. Got a bit of bite about him, but it's just about winning well. I don't think he's going to be able to. It surprised me if he can carry on doing 3 games a week to the end of the season, considering his past record.
Well, guys, we've reached that time of the evening. Thanks for you two for joining me on the show tonight. We didn't have any callers, but I thoroughly enjoyed speaking to you. Robert?
Yep, good to have you, Linda. Been a while since I've been on with yourself, so been a good show. Unfortunately, as you said, didn't get any callers, and they must have all been watching Super 6 somewhere. I don't know where that was tonight, but I'm going to try and find the highlights of that and put my feet up. But no, good show, and hopefully the positivity keeps on rolling into Thursday.
JM?
Yeah, thanks for that, guys. Again, I don't think I've been on with you, Linda, since my first show, so that was good. And yeah, shame not to get any callers, but hopefully a few more call in tomorrow to build up the Thursday, and looking forward to a good result.
Yeah, well said, guys. Yeah, really enjoyed being on with you. So thanks to Robert and JM for doing the show with me tonight. Thanks to Fox and Old School Blue for doing the technicals. And thanks to all you guys for listening. This has been Rangers Radio. We'll be back tomorrow night. We'll be continuing to build up to the big European game on Thursday. So good night, everyone. Thanks for listening. Take it away.